You've been told that logic and reason are the ultimate tools for understanding life. But what if your most powerful guide has been quietly whispering all along? Your sixth sense, intuition, isn't just some mystical nonsense or a lucky guess. It's a legitimate, embodied wisdom that modern psychology and neuroscience now recognize. This video will completely shift how you view decision-making, creativity, and personal transformation. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Relying solely on your rational mind keeps you trapped, second-guessing every step, while those who trust their intuition often make faster, better decisions and live more authentic lives. Carl Jung knew it. William James knew it. And by the end of this video, you'll know it too. If you've ever felt torn between your gut feeling and your rational analysis, get ready to learn why that internal conflict exists and how to finally resolve it for good. Most people never tap into their intuitive potential because they don't know how to access it. But not you. By sticking with me, you'll discover practical, science-backed ways to strengthen your intuition, ask transformational questions, and trust your embodied wisdom. Ready to unlock the real power of your sixth sense? Let's dive in. The power of intuition and its role in knowledge acquisition. Intuition, often misunderstood, is one of the most underrated faculties of the human mind. Unlike the rational mind that dissects reality piece by piece, intuition synthesizes vast amounts of information in a split second, connecting dots that our intellect can't even perceive. Carl Jung saw intuition as a primary function of the psyche, while William James marveled at its ability to operate below the threshold of conscious awareness. Imagine those moments when a sudden insight hits you, out of nowhere. It feels like magic, right? That's intuition, tapping into embodied wisdom far beyond deliberate thought. What's fascinating is that intuition doesn't just arise from thin air. It emerges from the unconscious mind, a reservoir of experiences, symbols, and archetypes stored deep within us. Carl Jung described this as the collective unconscious, a realm that connects us all. When someone trusts their gut, they're actually drawing upon this immense, hidden database. It's the mind's way of offering symbolic answers without the need for tedious analysis. Think about how artists, inventors, or even chess grandmasters rely on intuition to make leaps that logic alone could never achieve. In fact, modern psychoanalysis acknowledges that some of the most transformative insights come not from conscious reasoning, but from subtle signals arising within. This process, often unnoticed, calls for a profound self-awareness to recognize these nudges. The intuitive mind whispers, whereas the intellect shouts. It's like being tuned to a different radio frequency, quiet but powerful. This is why many intuitive people emphasize practices like meditative silence or reflection to strengthen this faculty. It's not about abandoning intellect, but about complementing it. Let's make this practical. If you want to start cultivating your intuition, begin by practicing small experiments. Next time you're faced with a decision, like choosing between two job offers or deciding what city to move to, pause and check in with your body. What does your gut say? This connection between intuition and the body, often labeled as a gut feeling, is not some mystical fantasy, but a real, embodied wisdom. Neuroscience now confirms that the gut houses a network of neurons capable of influencing decisions, a fact Elizabeth Lloyd Mayer explored in her groundbreaking work on intuitive knowing. By recognizing intuition as a valid and powerful tool for knowledge acquisition, you start to see yourself not just as an intellect-driven being, but as a holistic organism. This includes your subconscious, your emotional awareness, and even your subtle, energetic states. But here's the catch. Accessing intuition requires asking the right kind of questions, a skill that's often overlooked but crucial for deep personal transformation. The importance of asking transformational questions. The art of asking the right questions is like holding a master key to the hidden chambers of the unconscious mind. Carl Jung often emphasized that questions are more important than answers, because they shape the direction of individuation and personal transformation. When someone frames a powerful question, they're not just engaging their intellect. They're activating the entire psyche, inviting archetypal forces and the symbolic language of the unconscious to respond. Think of it like planting a seed in fertile soil. Over time, with reflection and patience, that seed blossoms into intuitive insight. Clarissa Pinkola Estes beautifully describes this process as the soul's natural method of navigating life's big questions. Without these soul-driven inquiries, one risks becoming trapped in the limitations of the rational mind, which tends to suppress the more fluid, symbolic responses of intuition. Bernardo Kastrup also underscores that reality itself is more mind-like than material, meaning that well-formed questions literally shape how consciousness interacts with the world. So, instead of asking, "What's the right decision?" consider asking, "What's the most transformative path for my personal growth?" That shift alone can change everything. Practical example: let's say you're contemplating a career change. Rather than obsessing over salary or job security, ask yourself, what vocation will lead me to greater individuation and creative fulfillment? This reframes the decision from a purely rational analysis to an intuitive exploration, allowing the unconscious mind to offer symbolic answers that may not be immediately obvious. Helen Palmer calls this process intuitive decision-making, where your gut feelings and emotional awareness guide you alongside your intellect. Of course, not every question will unlock the doors of the psyche. It requires a certain sensitivity to emotional awareness and an openness to receiving symbolic responses. These might come in dreams, synchronicities, or even spontaneous gut feelings during moments of meditative silence. Emotional suppression, however, blocks this process entirely. If you've been taught to dismiss your feelings, reconnecting with your body's signals is a necessary step. As Elizabeth Lloyd Mayer's research illustrates, intuitive breakthroughs often emerge when we stop forcing answers and start listening deeply. Once a transformational question is posed, it sets the psyche in motion, creating a subtle but powerful shift in consciousness. Yet, the process doesn't stop there. The rational mind must then learn to quiet down, making space for the unconscious mind to deliver its insights. Quieting the mind to access intuitive wisdom. After crafting the right question, the next crucial step is learning to quiet the mind, a skill that modern life often undermines. The rational mind, with its incessant chatter and need for control, tends to drown out the subtle signals of intuition. Carl Jung and Schopenhauer both recognize that the unconscious mind cannot be accessed through force or willpower. Instead, it requires a state of relaxed receptivity, where the mind enters meditative silence, allowing intuitive insights to rise naturally, like bubbles surfacing from the depths. Elizabeth Lloyd Mayer's work brilliantly demonstrates how relaxation and receptivity are essential for intuitive reception. She noted that overthinking or obsessing about a problem actually repels intuitive solutions, while states of calm, achieved through meditation, walking in nature, or even simply focusing on the breath, invite those symbolic answers to emerge. Imagine you're wrestling with a life decision. Taking a break to stroll through a forest or practicing mindfulness could do far more for your clarity than hours of ruminating. The unconscious mind thrives in stillness. Practical techniques for quieting the mind are surprisingly simple, yet profoundly effective. Meditation, of course, is a classic, and even just 5 minutes of focused breathing can create space for intuitive insights. Another underrated method is engaging in rhythmic activities like swimming, knitting, or gardening that gently shift the mind from analytical overdrive into a more relaxed, embodied wisdom. Schopenhauer himself found long walks essential for accessing his deepest ideas. These practices foster a consciousness shift where intuition can subtly emerge. But let's be honest, quieting the mind isn't easy in a culture obsessed with constant stimulation. Notifications, deadlines, and social media train the rational mind to remain hyperactive and reactive. That's why creating deliberate moments of meditative silence is revolutionary. It's an act of ego suppression, allowing the unconscious to rise without resistance. Carl Jung taught that this suspension of the rational mind is necessary for individuation, as the self can only surface when the ego temporarily steps aside, creating a space for symbolic wisdom. So, once the mind is quiet and the body relaxed, a subtle shift happens. Intuitive answers begin to surface, often as a gut feeling or an unexpected image flashing through the mind. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. These insights are not just mental, they are deeply connected to the body itself. Body connection and emotional awareness in intuitive processes. Connecting with the body is absolutely essential for accessing intuitive wisdom. Carl Jung emphasized that the psyche is not just located in the mind, but is embodied, meaning that intuition often communicates through physical sensations. One of the most familiar examples is the gut feeling, a visceral signal from the unconscious mind. This is not just poetic language. The human gut contains a vast neural network known as the enteric nervous system, influencing emotions and decision-making in ways the rational mind can't fully grasp. Emotional awareness plays a pivotal role in this process. When individuals suppress their emotions, they inadvertently sever the pathways through which intuition operates. The body holds emotional memories and subtle signals that guide intuitive decision-making. Helen Palmer has shown that people who develop a keen sense of their bodily sensations, such as noticing tension in the chest or warmth in the belly, are better at recognizing intuitive guidance. For instance, if your stomach clenches at the thought of a particular choice, that's your subconscious signaling potential danger or misalignment. This connection between the body and intuition is why practices like somatic meditation, yoga, or even simple body scans are so effective. These activities increase self-awareness and help individuals detect the subtle cues arising from the unconscious mind. Elizabeth Lloyd Mayer often encouraged clients to relax and tune into their bodily sensations when seeking intuitive answers, fostering a greater receptivity to embodied wisdom. It's not about bypassing intellect, but integrating it with the often overlooked intelligence of the body. Interestingly, research now confirms what intuitive practitioners have known for centuries. Emotional suppression blocks not only psychological well-being, but also intuitive clarity. When we numb our feelings, we cut off the very channels through which our embodied wisdom communicates. Schopenhauer argued that instinct and feeling often know more than reason, and modern neuroscience backs this up. So, the next time you face a complex decision, take a moment to breathe deeply, check in with your gut, and notice what your body is telling you. It might reveal more than your intellect ever could. By grounding oneself in this body-mind connection, individuals not only access richer intuitive insights, but also experience personal transformation. Yet cultivating this level of intuitive attunement is not without its challenges. It demands practice, patience, and a willingness to shift consciousness beyond the confines of rational thought. The challenges and rewards of cultivating intuition. Cultivating intuition isn't as glamorous or effortless as popular culture might suggest. It requires a deliberate shift in consciousness, one where the rational mind takes a step back and receptivity becomes the priority. Helen Palmer points out that most people resist this shift because it challenges the dominance of the intellect and ego. After all, we've been conditioned to value logic over feeling, analysis over instinct. Yet, the human mind is far more expansive than pure rationality. It includes intuition, creativity, and embodied wisdom, all waiting to be accessed. One of the primary challenges is overcoming the ego's resistance. The ego loves certainty, predictability, and control, while intuition thrives in ambiguity, openness, and trust. Carl Jung spoke at length about the necessity of ego suppression for individuation to unfold. Without relaxing the ego's grip, the unconscious mind remains inaccessible. But here's the good news. This shift doesn't require renouncing logic, just balancing it with other faculties. It's like adding a new tool to your toolbox rather than discarding the old ones. The rewards of developing intuition are nothing short of transformative. People who cultivate this capacity often report heightened creativity, better decision-making, and a deeper connection to their life's purpose. Intuitive decision-making, as Helen Palmer explains, becomes increasingly accurate with practice. For example, seasoned entrepreneurs often rely on gut feelings to make pivotal business decisions, blending intellect with intuition seamlessly. This is where personal transformation happens, when individuals trust their inner compass enough to guide major life choices. Practical steps for strengthening intuition include regular meditation, journaling dreams, and practicing mindfulness during everyday activities. These habits enhance self-awareness and foster a consciousness shift that makes intuitive insights more frequent and reliable. Elizabeth Lloyd Mayer's research showed that even skeptics could experience remarkable intuitive breakthroughs when they practiced relaxing the mind and paying attention to subtle signals. It's about becoming more receptive, more attuned, and more trusting of the body's and unconscious mind's wisdom. As individuals persist in cultivating their intuition, they find that intuitive flashes occur more often, decision-making becomes more fluid, and life itself feels more aligned with their true self. This journey toward personal transformation is deeply rewarding, yet it naturally leads to further exploration. What other hidden faculties of the human psyche might be waiting to be discovered and harnessed? So, are you ready to finally stop ignoring that quiet, persistent voice inside you? Your intuition isn't just some quirky feeling. It's your direct line to embodied wisdom, a bridge between your unconscious mind and conscious action. Imagine what your life could look like if you consistently trusted those gut feelings, those symbolic answers your psyche sends in moments of clarity. What would change? How much more aligned could you become with your true self? The real question is, will you take the steps to cultivate this hidden power? Will you slow down, create space for meditative silence, and start asking yourself transformational questions? Or will you keep letting your rational mind drown out the quiet wisdom that's been guiding you all along? Your personal transformation begins when you choose to shift your consciousness. Are you ready for that challenge? If this video resonated with you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. There's so much more about the human mind, intuition, and self-awareness that we'll explore together. Drop a comment below sharing how intuition has shown up in your life. I'd love to hear your story. Until next time, stay curious and trust your sixth sense.